Are we waiting for John, or is he not here tonight, Steve?
I'll talk to you about it afterwards.
Okay. He is at a airport zoning commission.
Okay,
public
cool.
hearing and meeting. Yep.
Well, call a meeting to order, and let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call of the board members, please.
Robertson.
Here.
Racine is absent and excused. Yuli.
Here.
Agostinelli.
Here.
Castiglione.
Here.
Fudge.
Here.
And Good.
Here.
All right.
Don't tell me, did Ann get stolen by this airport zoning meeting too?
I think she's just doing it remotely.
Okay.
Yeah, doing the minutes
Hi,
remotely.
Ann. All right.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, first item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody feeling the need to make public comment, please step up to the podium, use the mic, project, state your name and address, and be heard. Nobody tonight. All right, we'll move on to our second item on the agenda. Review and approval of the agenda and statement of any conflicts of interest.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, I was just going to say,
You got it.
I was curious, and we were just talking about it. I don't know if it can just be in the staff report or if we wanted to add an agenda item. I was just curious about an update. I read in the ticker about the plans that TC Light and Power has for their piece of property on Cedar Run Road. The ticker article referenced an article from December where they said that they were, that I had forgotten that, or I hadn't even noted it, that they were looking at building some sort of campus. So
Yeah.
can you do that in your regular
The
staff
staff report, yeah.
Excellent.
We'll do a
All
little
right.
verbal update, yeah.
Molly, onward.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Did we
No,
amend it
there's
at
no
all?
amendments even.
Oh, you're not adding it?
Nope.
Okay,
Steve said he'd talk about it during the staff report.
just approve the agenda.
Support. All right, we have a motion by Agostinelli with support by Fudge. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes. Any thoughts on the minutes from our June 10th meeting?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Support.
Motion by Fudge, support by Robinson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. The motion passes. Correspondence.
On your desks, you have, this was addressed or CC'd to the entire planning commission. It was a letter from Miller Canfield on behalf of the Aero Park at Cherryland Center. They wanted to appeal to the planning commission a determination regarding the sidewalk requirement. That is actually going to be in detail on the next planning commission agenda. But the letter was CC'd to everyone, so we did distribute it. So.
So basically, they're saying that this is some kind of takings for us to require a sidewalk?
There's things that they threw out there that I think are reference things outside of the zoning ordinance. There is a small thing in the zoning. I think we are probably going to stick to what is in the zoning ordinance. We have lots to say, so we will prepare that for the next meeting. Yep.
We will talk about it and at our next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess no other correspondence then.
Mm-hmm.
So we will move on to reports. Molly, anything from the Township Board?
Yep. We had public hearings on Copper Ridge PUD and on the vending machine ordinance and licensing ordinance, both passed.
Food trucks?
Pardon me?
Food truck? The vending machines.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Food truck machines. Yeah. Food vending.
Yeah.
Food vending machine. Then we are having a special study session to discuss housing. If anybody's interested, July 14th at 4:30. And then just an item of interest at public comment, we had a gentleman from Chicago come in and talk about his plans to activate a data center in Garfield Township. So maybe, Steve, do you know about that?
He spoke with us as well, so he directed a comment to the board, so.
So it's coming, so that's it.
All right, anything, I guess Parks and Rec did not meet. And John's our joint planning commission rep, and I don't think they've met anyways, right?
Correct.
All right, anything from the zoning board of, John's also the ZBA, right?
I don't think they've met
think
in
they
the last
met
2 weeks, so.
All right, well, how about the staff report?
Okay, a couple things. So, also at the Township Board, I think Jennifer brought the final parks-related thing for the Commons Trail. So it was able to get down enough. They ended up going with the wood bridge instead of the steel bridge. That ended up being significant enough, but it brought it down to reasonable level. So they're going to work with that bidder to get going on that. But it sounds like that went through. All right, so that's at least on track.
Great.
And then I also attended Groundwork Center hosted a gathering of a few staff from the different townships around. Claire from East Bay was there. There's representatives from Long Lake, Whitewater, and a few others on solar energy and some of the renewable energy. There's a resource out there from a group that kind of promotes renewable energy. I think John Racine had actually shared that with us, with staff. But also, they wanted to just kind of host a forum on like what do different townships have either planned or anticipating. For us, and like our land values are high enough, we're not anticipating the large scale ones, but smaller scale, the ones that would be special condition in any district that are more like either building mounted or accessory to something, is something we could see. And if nothing else, they can help direct people to us if they're interested, and we can say, here's what you would need for permitting, and just kind of promote, get the word out. But if nothing else, just had a forum to kind of talk about some of those things. And then John is at the airport zoning public hearing. So the airport, above and beyond, there's that, on our maps, there's the districts that follow like the runways. So in addition to that, now that the airport's under its commission, there's a actual airport zoning ordinance that's also going to include like a 10-mile radius around the airport, and mostly deals with building height or height of any construction like cranes. To us, I think it'll ultimately end up being more like an agency review. Like someone goes, like has Metro Fire reviews site plans. It might also just be check with the airport if what you're doing is compatible. I don't think it's going to become that big of an issue, but it is something that, since we are close to the airport, it affects everywhere in the township technically. So I think it'll become essentially another agency review. So, but that's what that public hearing is. I'll let John kind of delve into the details. He's been the one sitting on the board for the creation of that as well. So that's pretty much all I got.
And what about the
Oh.
TCLP?
Oh, and the TCLP. So we haven't seen like a formal application at all or anything. I think as much as we know was what was in that article. I think we were going to try to reach out to a contact at Light and Power. I don't know who the best, like my main contact is a GIS person. So I think we're going to try to find the right person who's leading the charge on what to do with that property, whether it's a realtor or a developer. It's one of these, depending on what they have planned, may or may not fit there. It's zoned ag, and future land use is more single family, save for the coal ash site, which continues to be it continues to sit there no matter what is planned. So having not actually seen a formal plan, or if they haven't sat down with us, I think a pre-app meeting would be fantastic if they start moving further down that line. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have on it.
When you make those contacts, will you also be asking about and I mean, it seems like it's relevant to the current cell tower that's before the planning commission, to ask about another cell tower that's being considered?
I think that was one, even the current applicant, when they were looking at other sites, I remember he asked me about that site as well. So it seems like there's interest in that general part of it. Perhaps that's something that can actually go next to a coal ash pit and not be a big problem. But yeah, it's one that we'd want to ask that as well.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Steve? All right, I guess we'll move on to our next item, old business, PD 2026-93. Next ordinance, potential amendments, discussion continued.
All right. So we kind of mostly, we put this under one cover, but there's just a few different zoning ordinance topics kind of for the next items. There was, as Molly mentioned, the amendment that was adopted yesterday by the board that will go into effect. There's our own next amendment for the procedures for moratoriums, which will be having the public hearing in July. So some of the other things on our list, I'll just give what topics we have, and we can spend as much time on each one of them as we want to. We have things on childcare centers. One staff wanted to bring up on the Land Division Act and its relation to access management. More information on the data centers and industrial uses, and signs in the new mixed-use suburb in the MUS district. So first was childcare centers. This is brought to us by Culver Meadows, and Brad and Trina are here. If they want to elaborate more on kind of what they have in mind. But the idea was to allow for a 24-hour childcare center. We also did reach out to a state official. I actually got a full email back pretty much right after the packet went out, but was able to get some information and just doing some research. There are 24-hour childcare centers elsewhere in the state, a lot of them downstate in some of the bigger metro areas, but there are some throughout the state, and it was clarified that by definition, it's the center itself can operate 24 hours, but in the definition it talks about like a child being cared for periods of less than 24 hours a day. So like an individual would be less than 24 hours, but they can have shifts of like daycare, night care shift, so that, but that one individual person just isn't there the entire day, essentially sort of like that they don't live there. But the center itself could operate multiple shifts. And so for our ordinance, the only kind of additional standards we have, one of it just ties to the state and local license, that will be maintained. One talks about the outdoor areas. The one that would be the sticking point right now is that our own ordinance talks about limiting hours of operation. If we wanted to do anything, it would be amending that. So it seems like the state would allow us if we wanted to, but it's up to our discretion. Some additional information I did get from the state licensing was that they do have a rule that parents have to have access to their children at all times, so that they could not limit like pickup and drop off, which I know that was just raised as does that create a lot of noise depending on what it is? Does that affect like what that policy would be? And then that centers do have their own capped capacity, so perhaps this is something that we could also look at. Do you want to allow it in the ordinance versus which sites does it make the most sense on? Is it a discretion? Is it something that needs kind of further information on a case-by-case basis, or is it something to allow? So, but otherwise, the folks who brought us this idea to us are here. If you'd like them to add any information or just want to have a discussion, it's up to whatever you.
Before we do that,
like to do,
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
thanks for adding the language from the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't prohibit it. It prohibits 16 hours during 24-hour period. And then it goes on to say, the planning commission shall not prohibit evening operations, but may establish limitations on hours of operations and or activities between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. But it doesn't say, thou shalt not operate a daycare between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So I think what you're saying is we would need to strike the total hours of operation from the ordinance, and then it would simply be under the may approval for us to consider extended hours of operation between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Would there be a construct wherein it be like a 24-hour daycare is a special use permit, where there's a special consideration for these rules?
Possibly. I think childcare is already a special use permit, from what I remember. Yeah.
So then any childcare would require special consideration, which would
Yeah.
include the special consideration
Yeah.
for
I
the
think-
24-hour operation.
Yeah, I think it's special use permit in everywhere except for CG. It's just special conditions. But yeah, everywhere else it's already a special use permit.
But as of right now,
Yeah.
if it were to be a, let's see, 16 hours,
Mm-hmm.
so 16 hours, it's late, I'm not doing the math, but if
Yeah.
it operated through the night,
Yeah,
we could approve it right now.
that
as
could
long
be
as
part
it
of the
was-
16. Yeah,
as
they'd
long
have
as
to
it
be
was-
closed somewhere else
It
for
would have
8
to be
hours.
closed during the daytime, which would be weird.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
we could approve it in that context under the current ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that they would need at least 3 shifts of daycare. Like, they also. need to
Providers.
Yeah, this
Sure.
provider specifically also needs to provide daycare during the daytime shift. So, it's for separate children, obviously.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah.
not the same child staying there for 24 hours, but.
But does it seem like it doesn't seem like as big it's not going from a thou shalt not have it overnight. It's more of we have to revise it so that you could have a 24-hour operation, but the ordinance isn't like black and white regarding the issue in terms of a change.
Mm-hmm.
I see you nodding your head, Joe.
I'm saying, yeah, that it's almost there. It's just, we just got to tweak it a little bit, is what
Yeah.
it looks like to me.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
It's just a little confusing the way it's written.
Right now.
Why was this put into the ordinance originally? And maybe that's a question you can't answer.
I mean, that's a good question. It was this way when I started here, but we could look back at when was this put in and why was it put in?
I don't think we should put a limit on the amount of children in a daycare. That's already regulated by the state, essentially, and it's about the amount of employees watching over the amount of children. So,
Sorry, did you guys want to step up? Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Brad Jewett from Culver Meadows. My wife Trina is here with us tonight. But so this idea came to us as we decided to expand over the course of time. There were several individuals that we wanted to hire, but they couldn't find daycare. And some of them are midnight shift people and stuff. So as I was talking to John and Steve about this, John had said that, we allow childcare from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and outside them hours is kind of limited, as you guys see, but it doesn't really say what the limitations are and stuff. But so we do, our operations already run 24/7, 365. We don't shut down for anything. And so one thing in regards to like traffic is when our staff comes to work for 10 p.m. at night, if they have kids, they're going to be able to drop them there. So we're not creating any more traffic for our own staff. We do see it's a vital need. I was talking to Brenda McClellan down at the Chamber, or the Travelers Connect yesterday, and she said in the 5-county region there's 3,000 to 4,000 needs for childcare. And I mean, we see that in our business, and I think any one of us here could say it. We know people that are looking for childcare of some sort and everything. But, so that's why we're asking for that need. The building that we're gonna build, I mean, it's gonna be a childcare center, not a daycare center, so there's a difference. Childcare centers are restricted in capacity based on the square footage of their building. Right now, our plans is to be licensed for up to 27 kids. Does that mean we'll have 27 kids there? I don't know. But once we fulfill our needs, then we'll open to our public. Our public is going to be a controlled group of people, and they are people that work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and everything too. So we know the needs there. We know it's there for us. We know it's there for the community, and we know it'll have a positive impact on the community. Our administrator and stuff's been working on what is referred to as intergenerational programming. So there'll be some programming with the children and the adults and everything. And so that's why we're in front of you guys asking for this to be at least clarified, or try to turn it into where a 24-hour is allowable in the township. And whether it's on a case-by-case basis or if it's just broad, that's fine. I don't care how you guys do that, but we have a need for it, so that's why we're here in front of you.
I know that the daycares in a retirement facility is a pretty standard thing. I worked on retirement homes and past life, and everyone had a daycare in it.
So just to clarify on that, I mean, the child care, just so you know, is not
Yeah.
in the facility with the adults. It is a separate building on campus, which was already previously approved and everything. In that building, I mean, we're gonna be building that yet this summer, once we open up our other one there, and we can focus on that. But we're planning on having an opening date by January 1 for the child care aspect of it. But I just want to clarify, I know what you're saying and stuff, but I mean, licensing prohibits the young and the old being in the same building and everything, at least under the licenses that we operate under, so.
I was in a different state when I was working on them.
Yeah,
So.
yep, I have seen them in other states too and stuff like that, so.
Bob, you had your hand up first.
Brad, I want to make sure I understand. This is going to be for the children of your employees and those from the public?
Yes, yep, we'll fulfill our needs first and everything, which I think if I just kind of go, I mean, I know we'll have more staff for the next building and everything, but I'm thinking we're gonna take, somewhere in that 8 to 10, maybe 12 spots for our staff and everything, and then the rest will open to, as licensing refers to, as the public, but we are gonna cater to a specific group of the public.
That was my question.
What was your question, Molly? In all likelihood, from an operational standpoint, you're going to be servicing people who need childcare because they're working a night shift.
Yep.
And if you have 27 kids, I'm going to assume the overwhelming majority of those parents are going to show up at the beginning of a night shift. And I mean, I'm kind of out of touch with what what is your expectation of a typical night shift?
For the adult side or the child side?
Let's say you're going to have night shifts for your own staff members,
Yep.
but then also night shifts, let's say, for Munson employees, and maybe you have some market research about night shifts for other constituents that you might serve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, it's going to be an educational type childcare center. So we'll be employing education certified, childhood certified individuals and everything for that. A lot of that I don't think will pertain, based on our research and everything, to the midnight staff, because most people are thinking that their kid's going to be sleeping. But our requirement for staffing is going to be that it is awake staff and everything, so the staff will always be awake monitoring everything. I have read situations where there are 24-hour child care centers, and they allow staff to sleep at night, and a baby cries or whatever, they get up, but that's not what we're going to be doing. But our thoughts are, on a midnight shift, for example, somebody comes, they're getting ready to go to work, they drop their kid off at the center, and then they go to whatever building they're on the campus and go to work.
What is your night shift anticipated to be?
Our night shift runs from 10 PM to 7 AM.
Okay.
Yep, and then our days is 7 to 2:30, and our afternoons is 2:30 to 10.
And is
and
that
stuff.
consistent with a Munson night shift, or, I don't know?
You know, I don't-
Myers is open 24 hours now, still, right?
I think they're only
No, they're only open
12.
from the 6 to 6 or 6
Yeah,
to 7 or something
I'm
like that.
too old, I don't
I think
get
it's 6,
Yeah, no, they-
6 a.m. to midnight, I believe.
Yeah, it might be something like, they did,
Okay.
it was,
Yeah.
during the COVID stretch, they backed way off, and it was like 6 to 5 or 6 to 6, and then they increased it to, I think it was 9 PM, and then I think they increased it here recently again and stuff like that, but they are not 24 hours and stuff, so, but, I know we kind of focus on the midnight, or the nights, hours between 10 and 6, but, we do run other shifts, so if somebody's
Sure.
coming in for 7 o'clock, they might drop their kids and go to work, or coming in at 2:30, drop their kids and go to work and
But you're,
everything.
you're already approved for those other shifts.
Yes,
You know, for 16 hours a day, it's really just that 10 PM to 6 AM that you're looking for. And so, I guess
Yep.
what I'm getting at is the idea that, as I'm thinking about it, there would be a flurry of activity around 10 PM, when, you know, in that range of when the night shifts
Right.
start. And then, yeah, maybe you've got a sick kid or a parent who leaves their midnight shift in the middle of the night. So you've got an occasional person who's going to visit, create some activity in the middle of the night.
yeah.
Otherwise, those kids will be sleeping, and then they're going to get picked up. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what would be the real disruption to the
But,
community.
you know, yeah, the thing is, I mean, we're gonna have 4 or 5 people coming in for a 10 o'clock shift change. They're coming in there no matter what. Even if this isn't allowed, they're coming in there no matter what, so we're not creating any more traffic. There's other times I would say maybe would be considered more of a disruption in the middle of the night is if we have an ambulance or something show up for somebody, which, you know, we don't know what time something like that may happen. So, I mean, if a ambulance is heading our way at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're gonna have sirens on until they get to our driveway. You know, so to me, that's gonna be much more noisy than a vehicle coming in to pick up a kid or drop off a kid and everything, you know, so, personally, I feel the impact traffic-wise is gonna be very, very little more than what we see right now, just because a lot of it's, I'm assuming is gonna be our people taking advantage of the childcare. But there will be a little bit more traffic, you know, but if you drive by, you know, well, summer's a little exception, I guess, but if you drive by 10, 11 o'clock at night during the fall and the winter and everything like that, there's hardly any cars out then anyway, you know, so, but again, like I said, we do have a need for it, and that's why we're here discussing it and everything, and that's what, you know, it's gonna allow us to employ probably another, I'd have to look at my sheet, I haven't looked at it in a while, probably another 12 people just in that facility alone and everything for the childcare. I mean, since we are 7 days a week and rotating shifts and everything like that, so,
Yeah, I think it's a needed service here, in the area anywhere. I think if we are going to start rewriting some things, we need to think about, if the childcare is affiliated with, like, your organization, or if the childcare is standalone out in a subdivision, then those hours might need to be different. So we got to just pay attention to how we do that. I don't think it can be the same.
well, I mean, personally, and I'm not the ones that make the decisions like you guys and Steve and John doing anything, but, I think, you know, that'd be something that would probably be in the special use application, would be my thought, based on operations and location and, you know, everything, but that's not for me to determine, you know, but, that's what I would think, but,
But we could say, you know, if they're affiliated with,
yeah.
Steve, how many applications do we get for residential childcare facilities? People in their homes offering childcare services.
That's a good question. I also
I-
don't know if my
I'm-
side would see if it was just
I'm assuming none.
like. I'm also not sure if my side of the office would see if it would go straight to zoning, since it's just either accessory or appended to a single-family home. I don't know of that many. I think there are a few that exist around town, but
Yeah, I know
Not-
they
not a
exist
lot.
around town, but
Yeah.
it's not
I don't think it's
I
a
don't
common.
ever.
I know in a lot of communities, ones in homes that are usually, well, licensing changed it for 6 or less, now it's 8 or less, depending on ages and stuff like that, but a lot of communities is a use by right, on the smaller side if it's in a home and stuff,
I
but,
think that's even state law that has.
I
that.
think it is too, but I don't remember on that one, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I think it's state, and whatever we have in ours just references back to
Right.
per state law. It's this. So.
So regulating it by neighborhood doesn't make sense.
No, maybe not by neighborhood, but by neighborhood. What's around it, I think would make a difference.
By zoning.
There was a reason why whoever wrote this, and it'd be good to find out why, 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So there are hours of operation that you can't be open. And I'm suspecting, I mean, this is just speculation on my part, that they don't want people driving in and out in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're affiliated with a use like what they have, you're gonna have those shifts change also. The pavilions, Munson Hospital, all those places could do a 24-hour.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That.
Well, I think the bigger thing is, as you guys pointed out earlier, that, I don't see that we're prohibited by doing a 24-hour. The way I see is there may be some limitations set on us during the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and stuff. So the language is kind of rough, so to say. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what we're hoping we can change. And I mean, I know it would definitely suit our operation, and it may some others in the future or whatever. But for us, it's definitely a need, because everybody knows how hard it is at times to hire people nowadays. And, when childcare is the thorn in their hind end, they can't find childcare, they don't take a job, and stuff like that, so.
Got a kind of weedy question out of curiosity, and then a couple comments. Question is, when you say license for 27, does that mean 27 total enrolled, or is that 27 heads and beds at any given point?
27 at a time, specific
Okay.
time. So,
All right.
I mean, 4 could leave, and we could have 4 more come in, so 27 is just the max at any given time of the operation.
So there's potential that this could create a significant amount of childcare in the community, not just beyond if they decided to have some kind of day shift as well. That's quite a few kids that could be cared for. So I think that's great. I like the idea of sort of striking the first half there under letter C and keeping the may establish limitations piece of it. I think that makes sense, and I think compatibility of uses matters, and that gives us leeway to address that in the future. Kind of the way I'm looking at this particular use case, it's like same thing, different ends of the lifespan. I'm guessing people could visit their loved ones at the AFC anytime they want to. People need to be able to access their little ones anytime they want to. Same.
And I figure we could impact well over 100 different kids. I mean, if you look at, if somebody dropped their kid off, just say for 12 hours a day, 3 days a week alone, I mean, there's 27 kids, but half of that day is another 27 kids, but there's still 4 days left in that week. So we could potentially impact somewhere between, 75 and 100 kids a week, or, families, and help provide a dire need. Now, that's not a big drop in the bucket compared to the need for 3,000 or 4,000 in the 5-county region, but, it's starting somewhere, and it's still providing a need, so.
So, Steve, it sounds like there's a lot of support for staff to advance a zoning amendment. Do you think that you have enough information to start working on something?
Yeah, I think it could be as simple as, it sounds like there was a lot of thought about just striking that first sentence, and then still keeping the rest that allows for at least some kind of discretion on like the kind of overnight activities. Maybe it's like less outdoor activities, things that would generate noise. I will also say there is still things like the noise ordinance that everyone has to, that applies to everyone no matter what anyway. So that's also.
I think that's a good point. I think it would be useful as you go about this. There might be an ordinance amendment, but if you could explain to us how, I think you said it was a special use permit for childcare. how would we continue to regulate it? You know, I think that speaks to your concerns, Molly, to speak, how would we look at every individual situation within the context of the ordinance that we would amend?
So make a note here, yeah. So
Is everybody good with that? And Steve can go ahead and,
yeah.
okay.
Because if the ordinance text amendment is relatively straightforward, that could potentially move really quickly. If it's something as simple as striking that, we can double check some things, but we can also look at the calendar too, because I think depending on how it shakes out, we can see like a timeline for how it moves
And
forward.
maybe you could talk to Brad and figure out what
Yeah.
their timeline would, you know, if we're moving forward with something.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need to push it onto our next agenda per se, but if we take care of it in the
Right.
next meeting, we could roll together a couple of amendments like we have in the past.
Yeah, if we gather a few of them together and do a package of amendments, yeah.
And so then, Brad, my only, I guess my concern for your specific application is that, like Molly suggested, there might be, and I agree, I think we want to look at every situation individually. And if you were, you know, right next door to the commercial district that was basically active 24 hours a day, I'd be like, this is a no-brainer. Your operation is active 24 hours a day, but everything around you is residential. And so, I mean, I think there's a pretty strong case there for what you're doing, your location, you know, the activity. I just want to caution you that I think we're still going to end up with you needing to make a case under the revised ordinance for why it's okay on your property and you know, all your neighbors are okay with it kind of thing. Because we would probably, would there be a public meeting for this, Brett?
I actually wanted to check that real quick, because there's.
Well, there might, suffices to say there might be.
Yeah.
And so those are all the hoops you might have to jump through is all I'm kind of, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I mean, we can address anything that we need to and stuff. I think I stated the bulk of the case right now. You know, right now, that's how our shift changes for the adult side. You know, maybe for the kid side, maybe the shift changes would be like a 7 to 7 or you know, 7 to 7. I don't know. We got to see kind of what the need is in the community on what shifts people actually work, because most of us assume people work like 7 to 3 or 8 to 4, and that's not always the case. I mean, there's a lot of split shifts where people are doing 10 in the morning until 6 in the afternoon. So, you know, we'll have to dive into that a little bit further, but, you know, with us running 24/7 where we have already, I mean, there's days that we have a lot of traffic flow out there. There's days that we don't. You know, there's times where it might be twice a week where sirens come blaring at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but then we may not see them for 3 months or something, you know. So some of it's still, you know, in the unknown of what it would create, I guess, like that in regards to extra traffic or noise and stuff. But I'm confident that it would be just like a vehicle driving down the street, but instead of turning on a side street, they're turning in our driveway, you know, for most cases and everything. But, you know, in our child care center, we already have the foundation, all the underground, all that stuff in the parking lot, sidewalks, all that. That's behind our building, so you don't even see it from the road, but that was intentional because we didn't want it close to the road and stuff, you know. So it's a pretty hidden operation. Most people already don't realize that's where it's at and everything, you know. But you know, I think any criteria we need to meet, we can easily meet that criteria and everything. And again, I'm just looking at the need for us and people in the community, you know, and some of the whole entire community that we plan on serving, they work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you know, and they are the ones that we call when we need something. And I'm just gonna leave that there right now, but anyway, so we have a specific group. I've talked to all them groups, and they said, "Don't fill any. We'll take all your spots." That was their exact words.
Okay.
You know, and stuff like that. But again, I think, you know, we won't have a noise issue because the kids are going to be inside at night. They're not going to be outside playing on a playground or under lights or anything like that, and everything. You know, we'll meet any type of. We've never had an issue with noise. No kids.
It really seems like you're ready to make the case I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we'll have to revise the ordinance first and then,
Right.
and hear it out. But I hear a lot of what I'm thinking I want to hear.
Yeah.
When we're ready to consider that application.
And I'll gladly make that case. My intentions right now, depend on the builders running that building up in September or October. You know, we need probably 30 working days because of where we're at right now to complete a building and everything. So, but we're just saying opening by January 1 of 27, but it could be November 1, you know, and stuff like that. Part of the unknown is how long it takes to actually get the license, but we've talked to the licensing consultants and they said they'll expedite it because there's definitely a need for childcare and everything. So, you know, so sometime between probably November and January, we want to open that childcare center.
Sounds good.
So,
Anybody have any more questions for Brad?
I don't think the township should be the holdup for them
Sure.
getting the license.
Thank you for coming in and talking about the ordinance change.
yep, I look forward to further conversation if we need it. So, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so you've got enough direction?
Yeah, I think we can look at, potentially the actual zoning text would be very straightforward. We might want to look at what are the other ways we can regulate through a noise ordinance, which we already have through other things.
Sure.
And for this specific, if Plan Commission retains wanting to do some discretion, what would be their process if they actually amend theirs? Theirs is a conditional rezoning agreement. So what would be the process to either, if it ends up needing one, what would that look like? Just to sort of game that out as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we'll double check some of those things.
So it looks like next on the list of potential ordinance changes is Land Division Access Management.
Yeah, so this is, this came up, so the planning director, assessor, and zoning administrator form a land division review committee. The applications go through the assessor, but also discuss with the zoning administrator and planning director. Sometimes I've subbed in for that, but we were discussing after reviewing some of the land divisions. So there is a recent amendment to the Land Division Act, and it takes effect in March of 2027. It's been signed into law, but yet there's some lead time to be able to prepare for it. And it increases the maximum number of lot splits that can be created. There was a limit on 4 currently, 4 lots that can be created from the parent parcel. I think it's like the first 10 acres of the parent parcel. That is now up to 10 as of March 2027. So it does allow for some greater flexibility, but it also does have some challenges. We were looking at some of the parcels that were in these land division applications and seeing the potential, like they're essentially, as John put it, kind of like miniature subdivisions without having to do a plat. And part of the challenge is how to create access, including like some of these front major roads, but some of them are like a larger parcel that might be behind that. So if the front one is the one to go first, does it retain like a stub access to the one to the back? Somehow like how do these pieces all fit together now that more pieces can be created? Creates that flexibility, but potentially some more challenges. So we did put in the packet, there was a recent MSU Extension article that kind of gave some overview of that. We mostly wanted to put this on just to kind of get some initial thoughts out there. I think to actually amend anything or review anything, we would probably do that at the next study session, but just wanted to like put the idea out there, and we've got a little time to work on it. But if there's anything that we should look up specifically or any kind of concerns, I would also probably have a few questions for the assessing department, since they are kind of the experts on the Land Division Act.
So remind me, with the Land Division Act, you're still subject to local zoning.
Correct.
Still have to meet the size requirements for a parcel.
Yeah, and that's part of when zoning administrator and planning director, or if I sub in, what they take a look at is, does the created parcel meet all of those dimensional requirements?
And these are done so rarely, or we see stuff like this so rarely in front of the Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a 10-acre parcel
Mm-hmm.
before this, or
Yep.
currently, before this goes into effect,
Mm-hmm.
then under the old law,
Yep.
that 10-acre parcel could be divided into 4 2.5-acre parcels.
Or just 4 parcels, like if
Or-
the minimum
or
acre
four-
was
four
1, it'd be
parcels of any
1117, yeah.
Of any
Yep.
size that meet the ordinance.
Yep. Mhm.
But if you did more than 4 divisions, you would have to plat it, or you would have to do a site
Site
condominium.
condominium, yeah. So, yeah, subdivision plats, I think are just rarer overall,
Mm-hmm.
based on how the state law to create them and permit
Mhm.
them has changed over the
Much
years.
easier to do a site condominium, right, Molly?
Right.
It's much easier to do site.
Yeah, site condominiums are easier. The trade-off would be that these are, like especially in site condominiums, and probably still with these land divisions, you'd have like private streets, would probably either be the biggest, or like a private common area and an HOA or something like that.
But Molly, wouldn't, this kind of division would generally, like, you're already on a county road, or you're gonna create maybe a private road to service some land divisions? Is that typical?
But you can't landlock a piece.
Right.
So if you split off, so, I mean, that's an issue. How do you get those roads in there?
Mhm.
And I'm not clear on, there are some townships that have 5-acre minimum parcels for a house. Well, right now, the Land Division Act says you can have 4 on a 10-acre piece. So how does that work?
Because you could split it, but you couldn't actually have houses on them,
I'm not sure they would even let you split it.
right?
So, but now if you're going to the 10 parcels for a 10-acre piece, I mean, to me, that's definitely a little subdivision, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have private streets. I mean, you could have a county road that goes through. Not all site condominiums have private streets. Some
Right.
do, some don't. So I think you could do that, any of those.
Yeah.
But I think the thing we need to look for is anything that we have in our ordinances that have to do with subdivisions.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that that complies with this new rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a lot different.
Right, right. Ordinances.
Does this, isn't there you were allowed to make those 4 land divisions, and then was there a period of time, or was it in perpetuity? I'm just remembering.
I think they might
Put
reset.
10 years in there somewhere, and then you could do it.
And then you can do another division.
That's still
Yeah.
there, maybe?
I
Is
don't
this-
know what's in the new law.
Does this reset the clock?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
As far as I know, it might be like, or perhaps it's like after that 10 years, you get to do the 4 again, and now it's like it's just 4 is changing to 10, so maybe you'll get to do that again, presuming everything actually still meets the zoning ordinance requirements.
Well, I mean, I certainly think we have lots of questions, and the direction, more or less, would everybody agree?
Yeah.
Proceed, do more investigation, and come back to us with greater understanding.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay?
And it came across just because I think one of these land divisions was on Zimmerman, and like here, I don't know if these poor property owners have any intention, but these are like 4, 2 kind of squares. There's an extensive lag between this and that, but the ones in the back don't necessarily front the county road. So a lot of them absolutely do, and those would probably be easier to process, but for the ones that don't, or just how it shapes, how would we prepare for that scenario?
I guess my major concern would be, make sure you guys back out of, if this provision takes effect March 24th,
Mm-hmm.
then from a sequence standpoint, if we need to do some ordinance revisions,
Mm-hmm.
we need to back out to make sure that we've got our ordinance revisions in place, and whatever, don't they have to be posted, I forget this stuff, time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys approve an ordinance revision, but then there's a certain amount of time before it actually takes effect, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta
It's
back out of.
Published and then
Mhm.
takes effect, I think, 7 days later.
Right. And it's usually, it's not a big deal, save for the fact that there's this new law that takes effect on March 24th, so we want to make sure. Go ahead, Molly.
Well, it is a use by right, so they don't have to have approval. I have a use by right. If I own 10 acres, I could do 4 splits. But what we have to check is access. So
Right.
it might be an easement, it
Mhm.
might be a road,
Right.
might be a shared driveway, might be something else. Those are the things we might need to look at.
Correct.
Or the
Yeah.
road commission might need to look at. But now you're gonna have 10 acres with 10 splits as a use by right. You
Yep.
can do that, but
Mhm.
you,
Correct, yeah. I think part of, like, why we wanted to tie in the idea of, like, access management, so we cited two sections. 512 is access management restrictions, and then 521 is actually for street design. There's a section on doing private roads, and it's split up into, if you have a driveway that serves two, I think three, 4, or 5, and then more than 5. So now if by right you can do more than 10, and they're pretty much always going to hit that more than 5, and that's always going to be a private road, how did these start looking? Are they connected to each other, or is it like little private roads all coming off of county roads? Is there a way to manage like that aspect of it, just the more design of it? Because you're right, they're going to be able to do this just as a by right
well,
thing.
it'd be interesting to see what
Yeah.
it looks like, because
Mm-hmm.
the current one, you get bonuses. If you put a private road in,
Mm-hmm.
even though you can only get 4, you might be able to get 5 because you've put in a private road.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what,
Yeah, I think just see how these interplay with each other.
Kara?
While we're talking about roads and access, just putting in a plug for if there's any way to consider how non-motorized connectivity matters in this. I don't know if there's any, particularly if we're talking off of county roadways, if there's any leverage ability in here to encourage or whatever, but just to not negate the non-motorized piece of the transportation and connectivity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you think you got enough direction to move forward?
Yeah, I think some initial things to take a look at, so, yeah.
the homework.
Everybody okay to move on to data centers?
Yep.
Okay. Just finish writing a note here. Okay. For data centers, we mostly wanted to, as was alluded to, there was a public comment made from a gentleman from Chicago. We did speak to him prior to that meeting. Since there's no formal application yet, there's not really much to say about it. It was just sort of testing the waters. We are still having the public hearing on our own process to do moratoriums, and it sounds like right after that will take effect, it will, well, after this public hearing, it'll be forwarded to the board, they'll do a public hearing. It sounds like right after it takes effect, board can consider if they want to do a moratorium using that procedure on data centers.
So what's the calendar date for when that would,
If it all goes according to, I believe, if Plan Commission has their public hearing in July, the meetings are offset that month, so it can go right to the board on the 14th to be introduced and set a public hearing for their first meeting in August, wherever that second Tuesday is in August. And then it would be in effect, then they'd probably, at the next meeting, it'd be the earliest they could start considering doing a moratorium.
so then, go ahead, Molly.
So if this gentleman who was at our meeting last night comes in and makes application before the moratorium is in place,
Mm-hmm.
where do we go from there?
That's a good question. Potentially, it's how the moratorium is written. Is it no applications can be accepted? Is it no applications can be approved?
I mean, I gotta be honest, I think we should know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Hopefully by our next meeting,
Yeah,
now that we have an applicant who, or somebody who says,
yeah.
you know, and maybe this effort to,
Mhm.
right? This effort to like go through this process to put a moratorium in place,
Yeah.
I wanna know if we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Well, this particular one was not one of those 25 acres of building. It was a smaller building that was going to be remodeled. Do you remember where it was?
It's off of Cybrant. There's like an existing looks like there's some truck wells to it, might be like a warehouse of some kind.
The old
Yeah.
Whistle, maybe?
Yeah, like right across from, it's next to the Light and Powers substation.
So it would probably be considered a small
Mm-hmm.
data center. You know, we had talked a little bit before about size.
Mhm.
Is it a full size? Is it a
Mhm.
medium or small?
Right.
And a lot of these address large or small
Mhm.
also,
Yep.
but,
Yep.
yeah.
As we said, if we were to get an application, staff has the right to forward an application to the Plan Commission, and we indicated we would most likely do that. And there are, the site plan standards still reference things like its effect on resources, utilities. It's like there's a similar set of standards Plan Commission typically looks at when they look at special use permits. That's what forms the findings of fact. There's a similar set of standards for site plans, and they would follow those. And we can always ask for additional information. There's nothing compelling us to. We do not have to hit an accelerator to approve something. We certainly can take our time to do it. Doing the moratorium process, that came from consulting with legal counsel to do that. So I think we would want to, I would forward that question to them on, now that there's some interest, what is going to be their game if they get something in before we adopt a moratorium.
I think we would support that,
Yeah.
being asked of legal counsel.
Yep.
I'd like to have an answer about what happens, how,
Yeah.
you know. And I understand what you're saying, that
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
latitude to
Yeah.
ask for, you know, to do a substantial review, but
Yeah.
still, I don't know that we still have an understanding of what holes are in our ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
so. And is these several ordinances here are really just food for thought at this point?
Yes, we had put some information together to do like standards for, I think we called them intensive industrial uses. That was sort of one way to tackle the impacts of them directly in the IL and possibly IG districts. So we looked up just other communities, specifically other charter townships in Michigan. So we saw one that did a ordinance that actually called them data centers and had the standards right in there. One that called them, similar to ours, high resource demand facilities. And an example of one where they did an analysis, like this is what a site plan review of one of theirs looked like. So it was just sort of what direction do we want to go as we study this and try to get the right regulations in place. I also should say, I don't know if this was given as correspondence, but did everybody get the Michigan Planner magazine? I just got it today. I'm let Judith
Mine
borrow
came in
it
mail.
for the moment.
Today, too.
If you'd like to hold it up and, yeah.
Yeah.
Look for that in
Yeah.
your mailbox if you haven't gotten it. The entire Michigan Planner magazine is on data centers and AI. So, yeah. All right, if you're not reading that, I'll take that back. Thank you very much.
So then these are just some ordinances for us to think on, and.
Yes.
And we know that the moratorium process is still underway.
Yep.
And then we'll have given that there's somebody sniffing around indicating they might be applying for a data center, we'll have some more information for us in 2 weeks about,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Anybody have any other data center questions?
Just incidentally, this was an interesting choice of an example of the conditional zoning analysis. If you haven't looked at Augusta Charter Township's story beyond this, Google it. It's been an interesting path.
This one was, wasn't the biggest, I'm thinking of Saline Township is the one that has been in the news the most, but then they've had one as well, so.
I believe they are attempting to recall their township board as a
Mhm.
result of this outcome.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So what do we have on signs for mixed-use suburban districts?
All right. Take a note. We have employees. So for signs, As part of the zoning ordinance package at the board yesterday, there was the food trucks, the mobile food vending units. It was also to adopt or add in the mixed-use suburban district. We had studied that and put that into the ordinance. There are some sign standards directly in the mixed-use suburban, which most of sign standards are in section 630. I think this was just sort of looking at it when we initially looked at it, put all of the text right together since we were evaluating a new district, but to sort of align it, it would make more sense to put the sign rigs in the sign section. And section 630 actually groups them by groups of zoning district to regulate signs in a similar manner for each. So the residential districts, section D is actually titled RR, R1, R2, and RM residential districts. Section E has 3 of the commercials, CL, CG, CH. Section F has office, commercial, and mixed-use neighborhood. Section G, planned shopping center and planned developments. PUDs have a section together. The industrials just reflexively reference CL, CG, CH. I think there were once different sign regulations, but they were either similar enough or were edited to match the commercial districts. And same with ag was to do the same as the residential. It reflects right back to that. So staff looking at this, looking at the kind of the purpose of the mixed-use suburban, it's a little bit in between local commercial and general commercial, where it's and a little bit between mixed-use neighborhood and general commercial. Being that there's you have a mix of land uses, you have something probably more intense than local, but not quite all of the auto-oriented things that would be in the CG district, like the drive-throughs, like the car washes. So since local commercial and general commercial have the same sign regulations, if this were going to be put somewhere in that section, it seems like regulating it the same way, or at least in the same manner, would make some sense. And then also, just in reviewing that, we noticed that the residential one does not include R3, and that R3 is not listed in the title of any of those. So it should probably be added somewhere so that it's clear how signs in R3 are regulated.
So
Yeah.
you've got 3 proposed revisions you'd like to further?
I think the.
I mean, like, you kind of have an outline of 3 different kinds of revisions.
Yeah.
It seems to me like this is a zoning ordinance revision that could be, I mean, we were already talking about the childcare.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Could these be rolled together and handled in a timely manner?
Possibly. I think it could be a very straightforward one. We, if nothing else, might also just double check the language that's currently in mixed-use suburban, or as was just adopted yesterday. Does that coalesce with what's already in that, or if we want to at least just double check that section? But otherwise, just inserting a district into kind of a preset spot in the ordinance. Adding R3 seems to just make sense without looking at more detail. It seems like it was almost an oversight that that's not in there. But yeah, in terms of like actually updating the ordinance, it seems pretty straightforward.
Anybody have any concerns about?
Now, I got a question,
Go ahead,
though.
Molly.
In the mixed-use suburban,
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what the speeds on the roads would be
Mhm.
to get in my mind whether or not I need a 15-foot high sign there.
Mhm. The first sort of area of interest, as we recently updated the master plan, we added the mixed-use area of that airport gateway. And we will most likely receive an application to rezone that area as the first thing to mixed-use suburban. We were thinking that as one of the areas to
That's
apply it.
45.
I think airport's 45, South Airport's 45 at that point.
I don't think it's 55.
It's not all the way down to 35, it's at least 45, I would think.
Well, and is that going to change because there's going to be a lot more traffic and
It's a good question.
going on?
Good
there?
question for the road commission.
I just like to
And
have
state
a
police.
sign as small as we can have
Right.
with people still able to see it. I
Mhm.
don't want to put a,
right.
12 by 12.
But yeah, similar to if it's regulated the same or in the same section as local commercial and general commercial, like general commercial and highway commercial is in that section too. That's all up and down 31,
So those
including
are-
on top of the hill. South Airport's a lot of CG.
So maybe we need it.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Molly. I think that, along 31, a 15-foot sign is what I would expect.
Hmm.
But if we've got slower speeds, narrower roadway, maybe it doesn't need to be 15 feet tall. So, Steve, do you think you could bring us some thoughts on variability of height that might be appropriate?
Yeah, I think actually just looking at that section, even if we don't do a ton to it right now, at least just seeing like, yeah, what does this look like on different roadways where we know what the speed limits are? What does that kind of just look like?
Would that be responsive to your concern, Molly?
Yeah, I mean, we're mixed-use suburban's going to be one way, but we've got to look at anything that we're thinking about that might be that.
Mhm.
But then mixed-use neighborhood that's close, and maybe that's going to be
Mhm.
a little smaller, or,
Mhm.
how do we make it so it makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah. We can't do it for each individual business, of course,
correct, yeah.
so.
It's interesting that, just even kind of looking at it, that office commercial and local commercial are in different, I know they're two different districts, but they're often kind of near each other or there's a lot of offices that are in local commercial, that they kind of like seem a little bit closer, but that they're in different district, or different, sections of this.
So you got enough information to work on this and hopefully either bring us some specific questions
Yeah.
in a month or maybe some drafts?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that would be, just taking a dive into it, but like the actual changes to the text might end up just being fairly straightforward.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great. So are we all done with old business?
I think that's pretty much what we had. Yeah, just kind of chewing on the next package of zoning ordinance amendments.
Well, we have no new business on the agenda, so if anybody'd like to step up and make public comment at this point, feel free to step up to the podium.
Judith Danford, 1139 Northwest Silver Lake Road, 49685. Three areas very quickly, hopefully. First of all, as far as the child care center at Culver's, I've watched this parcel develop because I go by it every time I drive that road, and they have done a phenomenal job. The setbacks involved in that, as far as concern for traffic and noise, I think are relatively minimal. Even an impact on the residential areas, it's relatively quiet for the most part. The hours, as was explained, with the children coming in at the same time the parents are there, or the parent is there working, I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic to have young children close to their parents and accessible. It's security, it's socialization. There are numerous benefits in that type of setting. And as far as the noise is concerned, that is a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. And if someone were able to make that happen, I would be absolutely delighted. There are tractor trailers on that. There are construction trucks on that with all of the detours right now. So as far as noise is concerned, it's not a concern at all. I think it's just really great. And not only that, but I was wondering about the staffing that would be able to be provided during those nighttime hours, if they wouldn't be in better working conditions and be able to work better and more efficiently knowing that their child was close by and in a safe environment. As far as land splits that are being recommended by the state, I was just wondering the rationale behind all of that. In comparison, when I thought about it, I was thinking about here we're discussing data centers coming in and taking in some locales hundreds and hundreds of acres, removing them from building sites, et cetera, and now you want to take a 10-acre parcel and divide it into 4-acre parcels and then go from there and splitting it down so that you can have more individual homes. I question the rationale behind that and the logic, and then I wonder about the continued use of roadways. I wonder about the increase in the use of electricity, because we know what data centers take and do. We know water consumption, if it's a rural area and you have wells and septic as opposed to public sewer and water. It just raises lots of questions in my mind as to the rationale for that type of land split. And the other thing, as far as data centers are concerned, talk about noise. Okay, there's a noise factor involved in that, not only a loss of land. And I mentioned to Steve before the meeting, one of the things that was brought to my attention by one of my friends was the aspect and the element of developing something that's going to be a guard against a terrorist attack of some type. Because what a great facility to destroy in a nanosecond and disrupt so many things. So something to maybe think about as you're going through and looking at some of these things, if you've not already done this, and maybe you have, and that would be great. So thank you.
Thank you, Judith. All right, we'll go ahead and close public hearing. Not public hearing, public comment. And I don't think we have any other business, so items for our next agenda.
And even prior to the items, I also just remembered, since we adopted the updated zoning ordinance amendment last night, if folks want to bring in their books, or if they have them right now, we can take them to have Karen update them, or bring them to the next meeting, or in between, and we can put them on your desk for the next meeting. For the next agenda, we are anticipating quite a few things. We have for sure, and we've started working on the reports already. We have public hearing for rezoning on West Silver Lake Road. It was Jones, the last name. We have the public hearing on our moratorium procedure in the zoning ordinance. Findings of fact for cell tower at the Olson PUD. Just emailed with the applicant today. They'll be getting us some additional information. They were just asking a few questions. Findings of fact for the Olson Foundation site condominium. There's 3 things that have been tabled if we happen to get additional information. Actually, we found one of them today. Indicated they're going to target the August meeting. So one of the things that's tabled will continue to be tabled. They've already indicated that, which actually helps when you have a lot on the agenda. But we'll see if we get the other 2. And then we have a couple of new things for sure. We have what was on your desk as correspondence. We will have additional information on this appeal regarding the sidewalk. And the new application we received was from Wolverine Power for a substation. They currently have a substation at Gray and Barney, and they purchased the property a couple parcels down on Gray to upgrade and upsize the substation. So it would be an essential service facility major.
Okay.
Which is special.
Similar to the, somewhat similar to the consumer's upgrade Wasn't it consumers? It wasn't
Yeah, at
TCLP.
Cass and Keystone.
Yeah.
Yep, it'd be similar to that.
Remember that from a few years ago. Okay.
Yep, so lots on
All
the
right.
agenda.
Well, if there's not anything else, then
I make a motion, we adjourn.
we're adjourned. Everybody have a good 4th of July. We meet after 4th, don't we?